Hi, everybody. This is Lorelai Hosmilio. I'm from the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, and I believe we are live right now on Facebook. And we have today David Gerstenfeld. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. And we will be starting in just a little bit. Just wanted to make sure that we have everything good here on our Facebook Live video. Okay, doesn't seem that I have that correctly here. So hang on for a second. I'm gonna try, well, let me see here. Oh, I do. It is there. I'm so sorry. So we are really live on Facebook. So
Yes,
we
we are.
can go ahead. Again, I'm Lorelai Hosmilio from the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, and I'm actually PACCO's Vice President of Programs. Welcome to the updates from the Oregon Employment Department. And before we introduce our special speaker for today, David Gerstenfeld, we'd like to welcome on the floor the Secretary of the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, Ellen Edmonds.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon, also known as PACCO. Since it was founded in 1996, PACCO is known for creating a positive impact on Filipino businesses and the Oregon economy. In recent years, PACCO has evolved into what it is today. We're an organization with a diverse membership regardless of nationality. Our members are professionals and small business owners with the intent to promote economic empowerment for every Filipino and allies. Remaining faithful to our strategic intent and in response to the immediate needs of our communities, PACCO, through our president, John Mason, has been very active in state and city-formed COVID-19 response committees. This has enabled PACCO early access to information that we are then able to share with all of you through our website, Facebook page, and virtual forums like this. Today, we are very lucky to have one of the executive leaders of the Oregon Employment Department as a resource speaker. On behalf of the PACCO board members, I am honored to welcome you in today's virtual forum, and I give the floor to our program's VP, Lorelai, to introduce our resource speaker.
Thank you, Ellen. So before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to have some ground rules first. Again, welcome to all the participants. When you sign in, you will all be muted. So if you have a question, please make sure that you put that on our chat boxes, and we will be happy to address your questions after David speaks. So to introduce David Gerstenfeld, David is the Acting Director of the Oregon Employment Department. Prior to that, he was a division director for paid family medical leave insurance and also acted as the division director for unemployment insurance, where he oversaw the unemployment insurance benefits and tax programs for about 8 years. David worked for several years as a presiding administrative law judge at the Office of Administrative Hearings, conducting hearings on behalf of many different state agencies and overseeing several hearing programs. David also worked in various capacities at the Bureau of Labor and Industries, involved with the civil rights, wage and hour, and hearings programs. Before entering public service, David had a small practice law firm where he did a significant amount of employment law and represented several small businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome Mr. David Gerstenfeld.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to speak. And what I'm going to try to do is to talk about some of the highlights of what I think most people are interested in. And I know that there's a lot of interest in the benefit programs that we're offering There's more need now for them than there ever has been in the history of the state. But I also want to talk about some of the other services that we do, particularly because I think we all hope that the pandemic eases and that businesses start to pick up. And we offer some really important resources ourselves and with some of the partners that we serve the public with to help both people looking for work and businesses. So most people are familiar with the work source offices or kind of the local employment department office that you see. And we have those throughout the state. We have employees that work there. They work with partner agencies, and they're really focused on two different main branches. One is to help businesses, and they do that a number of ways. They can help them with recruitment activities. They can help find employees. They help match people that are looking for work to find them good candidates, and can really help with a lot of those functions, including doing pre-screening and certification. So that's a really valuable resource as the economy starts to open. They can also connect businesses with lots of other resources. And I'm going to talk about one of the programs that they can help educate businesses about if they are either suffering through bad economic times, as we all are, and looking at potentially having to do layoffs, or also when they're looking to reopen but can't bring everybody back full time. There's a work share program, and those local offices have information about that. The other thing that they do is they are really focused on helping workers. And the unemployment insurance part of the agency partners very closely. They kind of provide the benefits to provide that safety net for people. And the local work source offices can help people find jobs. It has a ton of incredibly useful information for job seekers and businesses. You can find that at qualityinfo.org. So if you're looking for a work, or you're looking to go back to training or to school, you can look up what kinds of jobs are available now and what it pays, how many types of jobs are in your area, and what the new and growing areas are if you want to kind of look for future career opportunities. Normally they do this mostly in person, and because of the pandemic, we're not able to do that right now. They're adjusting quickly, and a lot of what they're doing some virtual events. So they've had virtual job fairs. They had a drive-through job fair that was successful, and they'll be doing some more of those so that they're still able to kind of connect people looking for work with businesses, but while maintaining social distance and coronavirus safety measures. There's also, they can connect people, and again, this is both job seekers and businesses, with apprenticeship programs. There's special programs to help people that have been impacted by overseas trade. If that's made their job go away, there are some special programs that they can assist. There's just a wealth of resources if people are looking to either get a job immediately or just prepare themselves to have future career opportunities. It's a great place to go. Encourage you, if you go to our main website and click on the job seeker menu, you can look at all the information there. We're also using social media a lot more than we used to help advertise job openings that are there. So if people are looking for work, it's a great place to look for those postings. And again, we can really help businesses amplify their postings to find people. So wanted to make sure people knew about those services. It's something that's going to become more and more important as the economy starts to open, and there's more opportunities, and it will kind of be a challenge for everybody to find the job they want, and for businesses to get the workers with the right skills. We've all been adapting to the new circumstances that we're living in. And one of the things that I'll be talking about when we talk about the benefits program is that we know that it's been too difficult for people to get in touch with us. Our agency has always really valued being able to serve people in whatever way works best. And we've gone out of our way in the past to really make our systems accessible to people in other languages, people that have barriers. And we had systems that worked well for that when we were not in a pandemic. Most of our systems were working quite well when we weren't in a pandemic, but a lot of those kind of fail safes just weren't sufficient, clearly, when this started to hit us. So I did want to talk a little bit about what we've done, because it really a core of our agency is to, our vision statement is that we're creating an Oregon where meaningful work enables the state's diverse peoples and businesses to realize their full potential, creating prosperity in every community. And that means that we need to be able to connect with every community and to make sure that we're as accessible as possible to people. So although we have been completely overwhelmed with work, and I don't think it's possible to overstate how much that's true. I'll be sharing some numbers in a little bit. We've gone out of our way to really try to expand opportunities. So we have a new website that I'll be talking about, and we've translated, this is actually our second new website since the pandemic started, and we've been translating them into, I believe it's 17 languages. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible. We've created new applications and 15, okay, but 15 languages. We're creating our application materials are translated, and some of our online applications that we've developed. Our PUA application is already live in Spanish, and other languages are on the way, and even more languages for the new version of our online website. So certainly that's been a way for us to help get information out there. And there have been so many people with lots of questions because there's new programs, there's really difficult situations. We also set up some communication channels because in the past, if somebody needed to contact us and they needed language assistance, we have some dedicated phone lines. We have people that speak other languages. We call in interpreters when we need to, or people went into our local offices. And the local offices aren't a good resource when they have to be closed because we're in a pandemic, and people weren't able to get through on the phone. So if they weren't able to communicate with us in English, it was too difficult. We created an email box. So it's OED_languageaccess@oregon.gov. And if people do need assistance in another language, if they get an email to us there and let us know what language, then we reach out to them, either with a bilingual employee who speaks the language that they need to communicate in, or with an interpreter who can help. We also partnered through our WorkSource offices with our partner in the Portland metro area, Work Systems, Inc. And they are creating, they are operating a system that they created. It's a statewide telephone number specific for people that need assistance in a language other than English. And they have a number of multilingual employees, and again, call in interpreters when they need to. So that phone number is 503-606-6969. And that is just for people that need assistance in a language other than English, but that's been a really helpful tool. I think besides those kind of tactical things, it really has helped us realize how important, as we're heading into modernizing our systems and creating a new program that will serve businesses and Oregonians, the Paid Family Medical Leave Insurance Program, to not build a program first and then afterwards try to find out how to make it accessible to people that we maybe didn't have working on the project with us, but to really reach out and get all those different perspectives involved as we build the project. So that's something that we've been committed to, and certainly the importance of that was just really emphasized. So we're going to keep doing that. Want to shift now to what I think most people are probably interested in, which is talking about the unemployment situation that the state is in, and just how many people are unemployed, needing benefits, kind of what those programs are and how it works. And I want to do a little kind of before and after comparison. And we look back to early part of March of this year, and the news was talking about how Oregon was at its lowest ever unemployment rate. It was down in the low 3%. It hadn't been there before. That's when our agency usually starts to see its slow period. We get busier in the winter and it slows down in the spring. And we had just the regular traditional unemployment insurance program that was serving most people that offers 26 weeks of benefits. And it really just helps people who are traditional employees. And we were doing that work over the course of 2 weeks. We went from being at the lowest unemployment rate we've ever had to seeing record numbers of people applying. So we were getting around 3,000 applications in a week. And then 2 weeks later, we were getting 70 and 80,000 applications in a week. And each of those has to be handled by a person at some point in order for benefits to be paid. So I think it's pretty common knowledge. Certainly people applying for benefits saw that we weren't able to get through the work as quickly as we wanted. It has been an enormous challenge. Since mid-March, we've had more than 550,000 applications just for that regular unemployment insurance program filed. The same time period the prior year, it was less than 64,000. So it's been just a staggering amount of work. And the analogy that I've been using to describe how we've been working to get people their benefits is that initially there was one big roadblock that everybody was pretty much stopped by, and that was us processing that initial claim. We have to see if they have enough wages, what benefit program they may be eligible for, and it took us quite a while to get that going smoothly. And unfortunately, people were having to wait weeks or even months for that initial claim processing to go. It's certainly not all good news at this point, but there are pieces of good news. And one piece of good news is that we really streamlined and refined that claim processing part of it, and that is no longer a problem. We checked yesterday, and the oldest claim that hadn't gone through that initial processing stage was just from August 12th. So we went from people having to wait months to where we're doing what used to take us weeks each day, and we're really current with that work. For most people, that means that they do get their benefits pretty quickly. Unfortunately, we kind of cleared that roadblock from the road, and many people can travel to where they need to go, they get their benefits, but there are smaller roadblocks that hit not as many people, but certainly still stop many people from getting their benefits. And we've really been focused on hitting each of those different roadblocks. The biggest one right now are claims that have to be adjudicated. And there are times when issues come up that we're legally required to do an investigation, and that's the adjudication process. Normally that takes about 3 weeks. And we have, a few thousand claims going that we have to look at. We have hundreds of thousands of claims right now, and we are way too far behind. So I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing. And I'll back up a little bit just to talk about what we've done so far with staffing. When this pandemic started, we had about 100 people that were processing claims for the entire state of Oregon. And I think it was last week we hit the 1,000% mark where we've increased the staffing doing that work by 1,000%. So we have about 1,100 people doing the claim processing work. And that's certainly part of why we're getting through it so much more quickly. The other thing that we've done is we've been shifting people around constantly and changing the training methods. Normally we train people for about 8 weeks before we kind of turn them loose to start handling claims because it's a complex system. We haven't been able to do that. So we've been giving people kind of crash courses of training. They've been jumping in and doing the pieces that we've been able to train them on. And then we're going back and adding more training so that they can handle more issues and resolve more types of problems. We've heard and we know that that means that sometimes when people contact us, they talk to someone who can't address the particular issue that they need addressed. So we have to transfer it or have somebody else do more follow-up. We are working on that. We know that that is a challenge, but that was really the only way to get so many people working on the claims so quickly. And we're following a similar approach with the adjudication work. It takes longer to learn the adjudication work, unfortunately. So we didn't just focus on hiring more people. We're changing our processes a lot and trying other innovations. A couple weeks ago now, maybe it was just at the start of last week, we entered into a contract with a company to give us 50 additional people who are doing just one piece of the adjudication process to speed that up. So they're calling out, getting some of the specific details that we need so that the more trained adjudicators can do the work more quickly. We also started a program where some people whose claims have to be adjudicated, we still have to do that, we're legally required to, but if it looks like we're pretty sure they're going to be eligible for benefits under at least one of the programs that are offered, we're able to start paying benefits to people even though we haven't completed the adjudication. And that's a completely new approach for Oregon. So it certainly has not gone perfectly smoothly, but it is something that we're working on that is able to help some people, and we're continuing to improve it. And I'm going to try to address some of these questions as they come up. Someone asked what causes a claim to have to be adjudicated. There's a number of different things. The most common things are that we're legally required to look at why somebody is unemployed. So if someone gets terminated, we have to look at, for instance, was it just a layoff because business slowed down because of the pandemic? Was it somebody that quit their job? If they quit their job, we have to get enough information to apply the legal standard to see whether they're eligible for regular unemployment or maybe the pandemic unemployment assistance program. And it usually requires us to talk both to the worker and to the employer. So besides that issue around when somebody quits or when they're fired, if it looks like there's something that might make someone not meet the weekly eligibility requirements, so maybe somebody was really sick one week, so they wouldn't have been able to work if they got a job offer, or if they were out of state for a week and might not have been able to work if they got a job offer. Those are all things that can require us to have to do that adjudication process. I should note, one of the things we did early on is we did some emergency rulemaking that really changed the normal standards to reflect that we're in a pandemic, which has reduced greatly the number of issues that we would otherwise have to adjudicate. But even with that, there's just a big backlog because there are so many people seeking benefits right now. So that is one of the areas that we're really focused on getting through, is that adjudication area. And we are picking up the pace. It will still take some time, unfortunately, before we're getting them done as quickly as we'd like. And I want to talk about what some of the different programs are, because that, I think, will help explain what benefits are for people, and for people that are either themselves or hearing about challenges also maybe understand what might be helpful. We had the pandemic hit. I mentioned the emergency rules that we did in mid-March. At the very end of March, Congress passed the CARES Act, which created a whole bunch of new programs for us to implement. One of them was the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, and that provided an extra $600 of benefits to people each week, and it lasted from March 29th through July 25th. And that was a huge help for people. We paid out billions of dollars of that throughout the state, which was a huge assistance. That federal program ended, so that is no longer in place, but that was one thing that we stood up in about 2 weeks and were able to start paying those benefits. There's also a number of extension programs that are out right now. So normally, I mentioned you can get 26 weeks of benefits. And because of the situation that we're in, the CARES Act created another program that provided up to 13 weeks more benefits, called PEUC. And then there's also kind of an always out there program called extended benefits that automatically kicks in when the unemployment rate gets high enough. And we went from the lowest ever unemployment rate to the highest ever unemployment rate. So that benefit extension certainly triggered in now. So that's another up to 20 weeks of benefits that people can receive. And it does get complicated as to which program you're on and when you transfer from one program to another. And that's been hard for us to train hundreds of new employees on. And it's been hard for the public to understand. And that's one of the things that we're refining now. Probably the most challenging program that we had to stand up was pandemic unemployment assistance. And this was a great safety net. It still is. This one and most of the others that I'm talking about are around through the end of the year. PUA was novel in that it specifically was designed to cover people that can't get regular unemployment insurance. So it's people that were new to the workforce, so maybe hadn't earned enough money, or maybe their particular type of work just isn't covered by unemployment insurance. And importantly, it covered people that are self-employed or independent contractors. So this was a whole huge group of people that need assistance, but that our programs had never been designed to serve. They were actually designed to not help them. They didn't meet all the eligibility requirements. We stood that program up in about another 2 weeks, and it was, we know, painful for people seeking the benefits, and it was painful for us administering. It literally required every week of benefits for each person that was seeking benefits to be touched by a person to get that benefit payment paid. And when you talk about tens of thousands of people each week filing that, the workload was just immense. And until we were able to get some automation in, it was a huge challenge to keep up. We do have a new online form that has addressed a lot of that. It's not perfect, but it has really let us get caught up significantly. And I do want to give a shout out to our employees also, because we hired people and really asked them to get trained in days on a brand new program where we didn't have good training because we were still making the program up. And they have been amazing at learning new programs and fixing it, offering suggestions, and have become so much more proficient in such a short period of time that is what has let us make a lot of progress. There are still challenges with the PUA program, and we're pretty caught up with the initial claim processing, but there are other complications with those claims that can come up, and that's what we're focused on resolving now. I mentioned that we hired some contractors to help with adjudication. An earlier thing that we did was we engaged with the National Guard, who have been amazing partners, and they've been able to take on different tasks to help different parts of the PUA process. And we're still working with them. They've been really good at helping us get through a lot of that work much more quickly. So that pandemic unemployment assistance program is really there, focused on people that are self-employed or independent contractors. It will last through the end of the year, through December 26th, unless Congress extends it. Those are really the new programs that were here. And I want to talk, I'll talk about WorkShare before I talk about the next program that's coming up. And WorkShare is one of those programs that has been around for decades, and Oregon is actually one of the national leaders in it. I mentioned this a little bit talking about the WorkSource Oregon offices. WorkShare is a program that employers sign up for if they're looking at having to lay people off. Instead of laying people off, they can reduce the hours of their employees so that people can stay connected to the workforce, the employer can keep their trained workers, and the employees can get partial unemployment benefits while still working. Now it's a tool to also help as businesses reopen. So if you've been shut down or mostly shut down and you're able to start bringing people back, but you can't bring them back full time, WorkShare may be able to help you do that so that people can still get some benefits, but can also come back to work and kind of ease into that. Oregon, like I said, has had a really strong WorkShare program for years. But when I say it's been a really strong program, when we're in good economic times, it doesn't get a lot of use. So if you look at the year up to March 15th, we had about 170 employers that were using the WorkShare program. And that, for a state of Oregon size, was pretty high. Since March, we've had over 1,500 employers that are using WorkShare. And although this is a really great program, one of the bad consequences of Oregon being one of the innovators is that this is among the oldest parts of our computer code. So just like with the pandemic unemployment assistance, a lot of this work requires somebody to manually key in each week of benefits. We used to have about 2 to 4 people that handled the WorkShare program on a regular basis. We're up around 100 right now. So we fell behind. We are quickly gaining ground. We're still not quite to getting everything processed each week, but we're getting much closer. And that's because, again, of all those new employees and how quickly they've learned things. For context, Oregon's WorkShare program, they kind of track the data by looking at the number of employers that are using it, the number of employees that are covered by WorkShare plans. And in Oregon right now, that's about 64,000, and the amount of money that it pays out. On all 3 of those criteria, Oregon is number 2 in the nation. We're not the largest state by any means. So like the amount of benefits that we paid out, I think it was for the month of June, we were second to New York State. And we didn't lag that far behind, even though they have a whole lot more people. So this has been a really big benefit for Oregon businesses. One of the big benefits right now is that through the end of the year, WorkShare benefits are paid by the federal government. So that doesn't impact employers' ratings, and it doesn't ultimately come out of the state unemployment insurance trust fund. So I can share some kind of breaking news, or at least the most recent on what was recently breaking news. I talked about that extra $600 program and how that expired. And we've been watching closely and talking with our congressional delegation and other states and national associations about what a big impact that's had with people seeing so much go away from their benefits. Congress has been talking about various new programs. They haven't passed one yet. There was a presidential memorandum that created a FEMA-funded grant program to allow states to provide additional benefits. This is a very interesting program. It's completely unlike regular unemployment insurance. We get our money from a different agency. It has to be tracked differently. We're not allowed to use our unemployment insurance money to operate that program. So there are a lot of real challenges, and it wasn't clear how much it was going to cost states to get those grant funds, because states have to contribute 25%. As we've gotten more guidance, it became clear that we could, based on the unemployment benefits we're already paying out, meet that 25% state contribution. So we announced earlier this week that Oregon had decided to apply for the Lost Wage Assistance Program. And actually we submitted our application this afternoon. So we hope to hear back soon from FEMA as to whether it's granted. I want to be realistic about expectations. This isn't enough of a support. So I can't tell you when we'll have the benefits able to be paid out. Our teams are already working on that, and we're actually already working on the computer coding and the processes and all of that even before we submitted the application. So that is our current top priority to get going. But we don't yet really have a good estimate as to when the date will be. As soon as we do, we'll let people know. For people that are getting PUA benefits, they won't have to do anything different. For people getting other benefits, we may need to get one question answered by them under the federal rules to make sure that they get the extra money, and we're still working on the process to do that. The benefits that this will provide are an additional $300 per week. So it's not as much per week, certainly, as the former program. It is retroactive. So if we get the grant, the first week that will be covered was the week right after the $600 program ended. That's the week of July 26th through August 1st. Based on what other states are seeing, we anticipate that we will get funding for 3 weeks right away. So that would be July 26th. I'm looking over the calendar to make sure I'm giving the right dates, through August 15th. So those weeks are all already over, but we would get money enough to pay people benefits for those weeks. Almost everyone that is getting benefits for those weeks will get the additional $300. It's not a perfect program though, so there are some people that won't be able to get the additional $300. One of the biggest problems with the program is we don't know when it will stop. The law says that it stops at the end of the year, or when the money, the funding that is designated runs out. And it's very likely that the money will run out long before the end of the year. There was $44 billion that was set aside for all of the states. The early projections were that it might be about 5 weeks worth of benefits, but the money is coming from the same fund that FEMA uses to provide disaster relief. So there are hurricanes that are making landfall now, there are forest fires. If there are FEMA covered disasters that use some of those funds, that could certainly result in the benefit program ending even sooner. So we're continuing to monitor and hope that there will be another new program that will provide a longer term solution to help people, because the recession, unfortunately, is not going to end quickly. It looks like it's going to be a pretty long, slow recovery for the economy. I want to talk just a little bit about how people can contact us if they have questions about their claim. I'm happy to try to answer questions now, but I can't answer claim specific questions. Probably the best way to get in touch with us if you have questions is to contact us through our webpage. So on our webpage, and Lorley, if maybe you can share the screen of what that looks like, and I'll see if I can talk you through showing. We've had a general webpage like most agencies for years. We actually were getting so many people needing assistance that it was threatening the stability of all of the state web pages. So we set up a separate one that you can link to.
Let me just go get, oops, sorry.
That's okay. And if you can't do it easily, that's fine. I can kind of talk people through it. It's pretty easy. If you go to our main web page, and Teresa already beat me to it to put the link to our form, our main web page at the very top, there's a link to our kind of COVID-19 specific page. It's unemployment.oregon.gov. And on there, there's a contact us. You can find that at the upper right and through a couple of other ways, or the direct link is in the chat right now. If you go to that page, there's a form that you can fill out, and it asks for some contact information and what the issue is. And that really has been the first communication channel that hasn't been immediately overwhelmed. We're still working to make the phones more accessible. We've added hundreds of phone lines, hundreds of people. We've bolstered the capacity, but we went from getting about 45,000 calls one week to getting over 20 million calls, about 45,000 calls 1 month, to a couple months later, we were getting over 20 million calls. So even though we're increasing the capacity, we still just haven't been able to get the system to be able to withstand that many calls at once. So this contact us form is a good way. We're going through those based on who's been waiting the longest. So when you tell us kind of what the first week is that you haven't been paid for, that you have a concern about, we're focused on those. But if you're contacting us specifically about, for instance, you need to reset your PIN, or you need to restart your claim, we're getting those issues resolved for everyone within 1 to 2 business days. So that really is my recommendation for the best way to contact us. And this is actually a great tie-in because there's a question in the chat about, and I'm going to hopefully capture the spirit of this. So if I don't, please let me know. But essentially, what about when you keep getting the same form letter over and over, or form letters that don't seem to make sense? That does happen. And it's really a result of the fact that our systems weren't designed. I mentioned that Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, for instance, is a brand new program. Our systems weren't designed to operate that program. And a lot of these forms are hard coded into our computer. And it would take a lot of effort to change it. And it's those same people that are busy standing up the new benefit programs that would have to go do that work. So unfortunately, there are notices that are not as specific as we would like them to be. There's not an easy way for us to turn off all of those weekly notices. We do have some information on our website to help explain what some of the most common messages mean, or the common notices that you get. And the specific question is asking about, for instance, if you get asked to provide documentation showing that you're authorized to work, and that's something that federal law requires us to get in some circumstances. Probably the best way to do it is, again, to go to that contact us form, and you can attach an image of that documentation. And that, again, is something that will get to us quicker than if you were to mail it in or to try to fax it in. So that would be my recommendation. That's the quickest way for us to get that information and to be able to process it. And I'm going to see how organized I can stay while trying to look at my notes and also the chat questions, but I don't want to miss the questions. There's a question about, will the workshare program send out documents about which weeks were paid? Looking at kind of the record of deposit, it looks to be random and hard to track. Probably the best advice that I can give is, if you go online to our website, to the same system, to our online claim system, you should be able to check the status of your claim, and it'll show which weeks have been paid and which ones are waiting. Realistically, we won't be able to send a list out to everyone that's filing for Workshare with that type of information, just because of the volume. I mentioned we have about 46,000 people that are getting Workshare benefits, and it would be a manual process to look all of that information up and send that information out. And those are the same people that are having to enter the week so that people can actually get payments. But you should be able to get that information. And if you're not able to, and you do need to verify, again, that's something that sending that through the contact us means that you don't have to wait on hold. We will get to it. It won't be instantly, because we still are dealing with a record number of people, but it gets logged, and you should get, for instance, if you send something in on a Thursday and we're not able to get to it that week, you should get a confirmation that we have it. We haven't been able to get to it yet. And you'll get those reminders until we are able to answer your question. I think what I wanted to end with before I just open it up for any other questions is to talk just a little bit about the impact that the benefit programs have had. This is something that I know internally, our employees are just so focused on helping each individual person. We know how desperate people are to get the benefits that they are eligible for, that we lose sight of it sometime. And earlier today, our research area was providing some context, and they had some great comparisons. So the numbers are pretty staggering. Since mid-March, we have paid out $4 billion in benefits. And if you were to take before March and go back in time to see how long it took us to pay $4 billion, it was more than 7.5 years worth of benefits. So I know when I saw that, that explained why everybody internally feels so tired and feels like we've done years worth of work in a couple of months, because we have. In terms of the impact on the state, that actually makes the unemployment insurance program the largest single industry in the state and the third largest industry cluster. So the unemployment benefits are more than the payroll for the entire retail sales industry in the state. We're paying out more in benefits than the payroll for all construction businesses in the state. It really is staggering what that's doing. And that's one of the things that it does, the unemployment system does during a recession, is it is helping not just individuals, but if that money weren't going out to people to be spent on necessities, you have the people and the families that are in a horrible situation, and they're not able to spend that money in the local economy and kind of at least have more money going through local businesses. And on that note, that's been a huge benefit. One of the other bright spots that I can share about Oregon's system is our trust fund, which is where the benefits come from. And a lot of these benefits that we're paying now are federally funded, but a lot are still paid out of the state fund. We checked earlier this week, and a lot of states have already run out of money in their trust funds. This happened in the last recession, and it's happening even quicker now. 13 states have already borrowed $24.4 billion so far just to pay their share of regular unemployment benefits. Oregon's trust fund system, the way that the unemployment taxes are collected, works incredibly well. We're in one of the lowest tax rates possible in Oregon for unemployment insurance taxes, and our trust fund has more money in it than any other states. And that's good, because this is going to be a strain on it that is more than any recession has ever caused. But at this point, we're still projecting that our trust fund will not run out of money and that it will be able to pay all of the benefits without us having to borrow. When states have to borrow, it can actually end up costing businesses more, because then we have to pay interest on that businesses ultimately pay. So that's kind of ending on a little bit of a high note for the system stuff that I wanted to share. And I'm going to scan the question that just came in. So someone is asking about clients who filed for benefits. There was an issue with the system and they weren't able to file weekly claims for a little bit. Are they still able to file if they missed a week, essentially? And unfortunately, I'll give you the "it depends" answer, but I can give you a little bit more detail. If you're filing for PUA benefits and you miss a week, you can go back and file those back weeks. The new online form that we have will let you file the back weeks. So if you try to file and it doesn't take, or you forget and suddenly realize that you need to file 2 or 3, or that one of them didn't take for some reason from 4 weeks ago, you can do that on the PUA program. On the regular unemployment insurance program, it is programmed to only allow people to backdate 1 week. So if you miss a week, you really do need to try to get in there as quickly as you can to get it claimed. If you're not able to, that would be something that you would definitely want to contact us. You can try to call us, but again, the best way would be using the contact us form. And there are a couple of things that our employees will need to do to kind of restart your claim and make sure that those back weeks get taken. So hopefully that answered the question that Maria had. And I'm happy to try to answer questions that people have. If you just want to go ahead and put those into the chat, I'm scanning there so that I can hopefully catch them as they come in. and people may be typing. So if either nobody has questions or they're typing, I did just want to kind of leave a couple parting thoughts, which is that we certainly understand how horrible this has been for businesses, for individuals. People at the employment department have been working constantly, incredibly hard to make this work. And we know that it hasn't gotten everyone their benefits as quickly as possible. And that is difficult for us because that's why we work here. The people that work here are incredibly dedicated to helping. And it's painful to know that we're not able to help people as quickly as possible. We really are focused on doing it. We know that we're not caught up yet. We are making real progress, and we're not slowing down with the progress that we're making. We're actually speeding that up. So I just want to make it clear that we're aware that the system hasn't provided the support to people as quickly as is needed. And it's not because we don't understand that it's needed, and it's not a lack of trying. And we're certainly trying to do everything possible and being as creative as possible to make things work.
Okay, thank you, David. If there are any more questions, please feel free to put your questions on the chat box, and I will have Ellen take over for a moment here.
Well, thank you very much, David. So far, while we're waiting for our audience and attendees to think of questions to throw our way, really impressive. Aside from being the secretary of the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, actually by profession, I am a performance and process management consultant. I can really feel with you. What you have done in so short a time is really impressive. And thank you for sharing a lot of those details. You were really painting the bus while it's running. And I am so sure that once people hear about what you have been doing and continue to do for everybody, people will, it would have a calming effect. And instead of having those negative emotions being thrown in our way, then people would try to help each other and, share, for example, just sharing all of this information with all our friends who are in the same boat. I really would like to encourage everybody, all the attendees, to please share it with everybody. This is very important information for everyone, right? Especially the latest PUA, the breaking news that has been shared by David. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you do for us.
Oh, thank you. That's, we had some, we borrowed people from other state agencies from all over the place. And one of the meetings I remember is we had a great project manager for the PUA program. And we said, we're going to stand this up in 2 weeks. And we were having these great discussions that she was saying like, okay, well, what do you need? Said, well, we need to hire people. So
Yeah.
we need probably 80 people that we don't have as employees yet. And she said, great, where are they going to work? Said, well, we don't have a building yet. So we need to get a building. And she asked about the training, and we said, yeah, well, we won't have the training for probably another week and a half because the program doesn't exist yet. So we hope to have the training about the day that we hire the people. And it has certainly been a challenge. It does look like there's a question about somebody that filed for PUA benefits a long time ago. They haven't received anything. How do they know that they qualified? And are there any other actions they should do to get the benefits? Yes, if it's been that long, they absolutely should contact us because they should have either started receiving benefits or if there was some missing information or a reason that they're not eligible, they should have heard that. So it may be that there's some complication with the claim or if they mailed it in early, there are a variety of things that could have happened. So I would really encourage them to use that contact us form. And since it sounds like they have been waiting a long time, they would be one of those that we would be looking at sooner.
And David, that is your screen for your employment department.
Yes. So thank you for sharing that. And at the beginning, I talked about the work source centers. And I said that you could click on the job seekers part. So that's up in the top blue area. Yep. But most of the stuff that we've been talking about, all of the benefits programs and how to get to the information, webinars, Q&As, all of that about the new benefit programs and the Contact Us form in that yellow banner. If you click where it says unemployment.oregon.gov, that takes you to our COVID-19 specific page, and you can see how to access in the other languages that we have it available in. And then on the very upper right is the way that I get to it. I think there's multiple ways. There's a contact directly to the right of the frequently asked questions. Yep, so if you click there, it takes you to the page that has the Contact Us form if you scroll down a little bit. So this is where it has some instructions about checking on the claim and some information about filling out the online Contact Us form, which is right there. And we really are encouraging people. We've tried to get a lot of information to answer a lot of the questions up on the webpage. There's so many different situations that it doesn't answer everything, but we've added a lot, and it does answer a lot of the most common questions. So we encourage people to check there because that could be easier. The search function works pretty well on this page, and that way people don't have to try to call, and it leaves the phone lines and other communication channels open for people who can't get their benefits unless one of our employees is able to talk to them and get the information we need.
Okay, great, David. So let me just go ahead and stop screen sharing. If there's any more questions, please feel free to put down your questions on the chat box. And for questions that haven't, for those latecomers, if you missed some of the important details and questions, we do have this live on Facebook, and we will be sharing that to the public. Right now, we have it live on our Facebook group page, Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon, and we will be sharing that on our PACCO page also, and on our website. So our website is www.pacco.org. And if you would like to be members, make sure that you also go to our website, www.pacco.org. And right now, we don't have any questions on the screen, but I do have a question for you, David. So do you anticipate that because this pandemic is going to be long term, do you still see a trend of a rise in employment in unemployment numbers?
Yeah, it's been fluctuating, and certainly the flow of new people becoming unemployed is way lower than it was. But we talked early on that it couldn't stay the way it was because another month or two and every person in the state would have already filed for unemployment insurance. We were getting so many applications. So the number of new people becoming unemployed has slowed down. We are seeing some growth in some areas, but we're still seeing record numbers of people that are continuing to claim each week because they're still unemployed. And we are seeing disturbing trends of lots of people who originally were laid off with it intended to be a temporary one, when people thought that it might be a short situation, that those are becoming permanent layoffs. So we really are anticipating it's going to be a pretty long, slow recovery, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you, David. Any last things, Ellen or Teresa, that you'd like to say before we close our Zoom event? Well, thank you very much, everybody else. Thank you, David Gerstenfeld and Teresa Rainey, for your time. We really appreciate it. And if we have one more question in here. I can get enough. Oh, I can get through to unemployment and my claim says I am not resolved. How long will it take?
And I can't give a definite answer because there are so many different things. And I hate saying that, but there are so many different programs and so many different types of issues that can come up. What I would suggest, I don't know if you've tried the contact us form to find out what the situation is. If it's in adjudication, it may still take, right now it's taking, for an issue that we just discovered, it's about 14 weeks, and we're working to shorten that a lot. So if your issue was discovered earlier, it should be sooner. I would suggest trying the contact us form because you don't have to try to get through on the phone. We will reach out to you. And if it is specific information that we need, they may be able to email you. If what they're generally doing is trying to call out to reach you, but if they don't reach you, they may be able to send an email or to otherwise try to get the information that way, if it's just some missing information that we need. And if it is the situation that your claim is in adjudication, I mentioned that benefits while you wait program. It doesn't fit for everyone, but it may be something that would help if that's the situation that you're in. I'm sorry, I can't give a more definite answer because I just don't know the details of the situation.
Okay, thank you, David, again, and Teresa. So just in case, though, that we have like some more interest in people wanting to get you back to the floor again, can we invite you in the future, especially if there are new updates?
I would love that, and I really appreciate you inviting us here to talk. We want to share what's going on, and although the news isn't always as good as we'd like, we really want to share all the information we have, and appreciate this chance to do that and to hear what questions people have.
Okay, so we will just get one more question then. Will I be paid retroactively? And that is from Elizabeth Jacob.
Yes, is the short answer. If you're eligible for past weeks, even if it takes us a while to get to it, one of the things that we did when we did those emergency rules way back when this first started was we kind of tossed out the normal rules about how far back claims could go. And if you are eligible for the weeks, it will be retroactive. And that includes the $600 that I mentioned. So if you're waiting for benefits during for any week from that March 29th through July 25th period, when you get those benefits, you will also get the $600 payment that goes with it.
Okay, thank you, David. So at this time, folks, it is 5:59, so we will sign off. But thank you again, David Gerstenfeld and Teresa Rainey, and we're looking forward to working with you again and inviting you in the future. Again, this is Lorelei Hosmilio and Ellen Edmonds from the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce. If you'd like to get in contact with us, www.pacco.org, and my email is admin@pacco.org. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night. We'll see you then.
Thank you.